of. Mitch, our treasurer in waiting, has been updating all of you teams on what you owe for the year. He's been sending out the emails. There should be like no reason that all teams aren't paid this week unless you've reached out and talked to him. So all of you managers hopefully have done that already with him and made sure that all of that stuff is taken care of. Please make sure you talk to him, and if you have any questions, you can let us know. There were some questions on like field usage. We were able to stick to our plan where most of the games are on turf in May. There were a select few that we just couldn't make that work for. So a couple games we have on grass fields, but it's really very minimal. That did cause some teams to play at a different place than they may be used to. And that also caused, a handful of games to move to Monday nights. But that was all stuff that we had talked about in the lead up to that. So it shouldn't come as too big of a surprise to anyone here as we go. So like I said, just make sure all that is taken care of with Mitch before the season starts. As you get fields for home games, for the cup, you'll have to pay those as we kind of go. And then anything over your allotted 22 players, we'll of course have to pay the extra player registration when those come. And then just make sure to have your ref fee, but we'll go over that in a minute here. So any questions on the player or the payments due? Anything like that? Again, let me see if I can see chat here.
Have you tried on sauces? Yeah, we will be most of them. You did? Yeah.
Okay. All right, so the next part here, we haven't really talked about this too much just because we weren't entirely sure what the outlook would be before the season here. The main part here is our COVID policies. Like any place, we thought it wise to draw some up to make sure everything, at least we had something to fall back on. These are kind of what we've drawn up as a league here. Let me boost this a little bit so everyone can see it. The important thing to note here is that any field rules are going to supersede ours. So we have a rule, right, limiting fans 1 to player and stay properly socially distanced. If there's a field that tells us they don't want any fans, we're going to have to follow those rules instead of what we have laid forward. Same thing with the one right above it. All teams and players must follow proper face mask and gaiter adherence per field, whether playing or not. Some fields are gonna, not have anything. Some might mandate you have it at least the ability to put one on. There's definitely going to be fields that are going to make you wear it on the sidelines. Basically, it's going to be, if you don't play on a league field, it's going to be the home team's responsibility to convey any field-related COVID policies to the away team, right? So make sure in the lead up to your games, you're talking to the opposing team, so everyone's on the same page and knows what to expect. And like, honestly, guys, I don't care about any of your feelings on it. If you're signing up and playing in the league, you're following these rules as best as we can, because if you're going to be a dick and screw it up, you're being a dick and screwing it up for 1,800 players. So I can't personally speak to having played with any of this kind of stuff yet, but it's just something we're all going to have to deal with. And I think the most important part is getting out on the field and being able to play again. So I will send all of these policies out as a part of an email to all the managers tomorrow. What we're also going to do is we're going to compile like a field by field list and share that with you guys too. So you'll be able to go back and refer to it like, oh, what's the rules at Nichols? You know, are there fans allowed? Are there not? And we're going to have a full list of each individual field. But like I said, it's really on you managers to make sure you're sharing the rules to the teams that are visiting your home field, right? So even if you do rent a league field, I would still, because you don't know who does and doesn't use a league field, I would be sure to make sure that they know what you guys can and can't do. It's really going to be a collective effort on making sure this is followed. And if it's not followed and we lose access to the fields, we're pretty much fucked. So just make sure you guys are doing that. That would be greatly appreciated as the season goes. Are there any questions in regards to the field stuff? Like I said, it's on the screen here. We'll be emailing it out tomorrow for all you managers. There's one question. Do we need to get names of spectators if they're allowed? Only if the field mandates it. For us, no. I think for us, it's a lot different because the interaction between our teams isn't very high, right? Most guys are going to come and show up on Sundays, play together, and then go their separate ways. So there's not really, you know, a lot of overexposure between teams, I guess, in my opinion. But like I said, everyone's going to have to follow the rules per field. There might be a temperature check. Say Rocky was telling me maybe if you're going to play the Raiders, there might be another field that does it. You just kind of got to deal with them. Any other questions in regards to that? Again, you guys can unmute yourself or throw it in chat.
Mike?
Yeah.
Quick thought. The best way to stop any outbreak, which would cause crimps in the system, is if maybe yourself at a meeting such as this tonight might say, get vaccinated. The more people we have out there, the less chance we have the opportunity to, you know, have that a breakdown. Just a thought, and I hope you chime in.
That's 100% true. I could tell you I'm going on Thursday to get my shot. So again, I don't really care your feelings on it. If you want to return to normal, that seems to be the way to go. So go out and get a shot. Don't wait. Some people were telling me they're going to wait or not get it or something like that. Just don't. If you want to play soccer and you want things to be normal within soccer, you got to do that kind of stuff, whether you like it or not. So that's.
And if you're thinking of others.
Yeah.
Right.
That's just where I'm going to leave it. Right. So, yeah, I think it's definitely good advice that I would give personally. But to each their own. And if you're not doing it, you're going to make it difficult for the rest of us.
I'll add with this, you know, these are the guidelines we have right now. We figured to get something simple out to everybody. I would not be surprised if the guidance we get from, say, the county and the state changes months ahead. So we're just going to have to roll with that too.
I'd like to run here, you know, your flat top is 18 feet.
I got him. I don't think Todd realized he was on. Okay, so that covers that. Let me go back to the agenda here. All right, so the final calls here on the 18U process, all right? I emailed this out. So what it boils down to is if you are going to roster a 17 and under player, anyone who's 18 and up is going to have to take the safe sport and is going to have to pass the background check. The cost per player is $35. The link I will, again, include in an email out tomorrow to everyone. It's going to end up at a site just like this. You're going to scroll down here and click get started or click here to start background check and safe sport training. When I did this, it took like 2 days for them to provide the link to actually take the safe sport. So you're going to click on it. It's going to like take you to a site and you're going to have to like log in as like a player, the location, I think, or league or something like that is going to be Western New York. So all of your players are going to have to follow through and do this. And at the end, everyone's going to get like their certificate to indicate that they passed it. I don't want every individual player from a team registering a 17-year-old to be sending me these willy-nilly, because I'll never keep track of it. So this is going to make it harder on you managers, but if you want a 17-year-old or under approved, you're going to have to collect all of those certificates and email them to me at once. I'll go through and check them and make sure all of your players have passed it, but I'm not accepting like, oh, Mike, here's 6, here's another 2, here's another 1, you know, like I just can't do that. I don't have the capabilities to track that. So if this is your plan and you have a player you're going to do this with, make sure you get this process started and done early, because, you know, the test took me, I mean, I was working when I was taking it, so it didn't take me, I couldn't like take it straight. But you know, it takes like an hour or whatever to take the test and watch all the dumb videos and all that other stuff. So make sure, you know, you're doing that along with, getting the rest of the stuff ready for your season. I'm going to drop the link in the chat for everyone. It's right in there. So you can copy that and save it or whatever you want to do. But like I said, I'm not accepting them individually. All right. So when you get them all, you can put them all in one PDF. You can do a drop to me. I don't really care, but I'm not going to accept them individually. So it'll be up to each individual team to compile them, put them in some semblance of an order, and send it to me directly. The certificate at the end, I can show you here what it is going to look like and what I want here.
Yeah, make sure you leave the certificate on the screen long enough for everyone to screenshot it, so we can just
You can't,
Photoshop.
because I didn't leave this part on here, but there's an individual unique number at the bottom. So
Well, yeah, you just make up the number, Mike. Come on.
you're not gonna be able to make this number up. I'm gonna be able to
Almost
look at the
graduated
one
from
I
here in
have
June.
and
This is
compare
like
it to
day one stuff.
what
Colin,
it
you can't even
was.
count that high.
Dad?
Can't even
Yeah.
find it right now. Where is this thing?
Hey, serious question though. Do we have the dates for the cups on there?
I said I don't know them for sure. No.
Okay.
So this is the certificate you're gonna get. Everyone sees it on my screen. Down here in the bottom left, Colin, there's a number. All right, everyone's gonna have a unique number, and I'll notice very quickly if you're fucking around with that. So just don't do it. All right. So like I said, it took me a couple days to get the certificate, and then it took me an hour or so to complete the test. But you have to pay before you take the test and the background check. So it's going to be up to all you getting your individual guys to go ahead and do that.
So the payments will be made.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The payments will be made at the site where we're going to be doing the.
Correct. They're not being made to the league. When you go to this link and start to sign up, it's going to ask you for payment right at the site, and that's where you're going to pay. None of this is going to BDSL. It all goes up the chain to, you know, powers that be beyond us. So all of that will be done there. So I don't know how you guys plan on taking care of that, but each individual guy is going to have to make the payment, or, you know, they're going to have your card information or figure something out to get it done.
Like, is 17 considered 17 at the start of the season, or if they turn 18 during the season, they're okay?
Nope. So how it works is it's by when you roster them. So, for example, my team has a player who turns 18 at the end of May. So I'm not registering him until he turns 18, so I can avoid that. As soon as he turns 18, he's eligible to play without any of these rules and restrictions. So if you have a player who turns 18 on BDSL Championship Sunday, he can't play any games without you doing all of the steps necessary here until Championship Sunday.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Again, I know that sucks, but that is not my call. basically when we approve players at the website, there's a date that it gets associated on our player approval. And as long as that player approval is before the birth date, you're fine. So that's what I'm going to be going by.
So I'm sorry to belabor this. So if a
No.
player turns 18 in April, season starts in May, should you still avoid adding them to the roster until after they turn 18, or as long as it's before the season starts, you're good?
No, as long as it's before the season starts, you're
Oh,
good. Someone
got
asked me a question today on they happen to have a guy turning 18 the day of the first game, right? Yeah, Rankus is pointing at himself. So what I can do for you guys is as long as I will mark that player approved for him that day of, as long as all the other stuff is in the schedule for him. So like he let me know well in advance that this was the plan and I can be ready for him to do that. But that still means the day of, he's going to have to get the player pass printed out and laminated before the game and all that stuff.
Right.
So like I said, I'm willing to work with you guys on this to be able to roster these players as quickly as we can once they turn 18. But if they don't, you got to follow all the rules.
Right.
But that doesn't subject us to the $35 payment per person, right?
Correct. Because he turns
So that
18,
saves me a lot of money.
yeah, because he turns 18 that day, and we're not actually registering him until that date. We avoid all that. Is that
have your
clear?
word.
Is that
Yeah,
clear
that
to
makes sense.
everyone?
Yep.
Is there any other questions on that?
So someone who's a referee or a coach who already has this is good to go, right? Who's
No.
on the team?
No,
Well,
they're not.
if a player on the team is a coach or referee and has safe sport certification, they can just send that one in, right?
To my understanding, and
Is the same
I will double check this, is that only covers your organization, does not cover USA SA.
I am not sure on that, actually. I wonder.
Yeah, no,
Again, I don't know that.
Let me see if I can pull mine real quick. Hold on.
I will double check, but the last I was told from Western New York Soccer, that's what I'm going off of, because I don't know any of this stuff either, right? So I could be wrong, but that's what I'm going off of, was what I was told from Western New York Soccer. Could be wrong. I'll double check on it, but
yeah, we can take it offline. It's the exact same certificate. From the
I
same
thought it is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure USA SA ripped this right from those
Yeah.
organizations.
Okay.
And if it carries over in those ones, like, it would stand to reason what you're saying is true, right? But from what I was told, that it might not be the case. But if it is, great. Then you can just get those certificates and email them to me and include them in the rest of your thing, and you'll be all set. So yes, it is sad that we have to pay extra for I don't like this rule. I'll be clear with all you guys. I do not like this. I mean, we have our own rules on age, and we've seen a good boost of players in the 17 age group between, high school seniors and juniors staying together and getting in shape for their high school and, coming college seasons. But it is what it is. I do not control this, so we just have to follow the policies. So that's that. Like I said, everyone, make sure you do not send me them individually, because I'm just going to say no, and then collect them as a group together and send them to me at once, and then I can check them over. So that covers the under 18 information there. Next part here is the player approvals. So we will begin approving rosters on April 19th. What that means is on that Monday, I will start going through team by team, checking and making sure all of the information at the site is good for us to approve them. Remember, to be approved, you need a player picture, you need a birth date, you need a jersey number, and your address. You need all 4 of those things for a player to be approved on your roster. If any of those pieces are missing, you'll notice when you log in, if your team's been approved, all of your guys turn to blue. and there might be a guy or two still in red, that either means you're missing a piece of information or that he is still serving a suspension, or that he is perhaps on 2 different rosters. And I would tell you right now that in the crop of teams that have uploaded, I know of at least 2 double rostered players already. So when you're talking to your players, make sure they know they can only play for 1 team in the BDSL. You can't play for 2 teams in 2 different divisions or anything like that. The only time that that's allowed is in over 35 and the Sunday League. So those are the possible ways your players aren't going to be approved. And please, if you see all of your guys approved and you see a guy not approved, please just double check them before you email me and ask me why he's not approved. Because normally it's like, oh, it takes me 1 second to look at the guy and just be like, oh, he doesn't have a player number, you know? So times that by what, 80 teams we have. So if you could just please check first. And if an honest mistake is whatever, we'll get it sorted out. But like I said, that 19th, we'll start going through team by team. If your team's not checked on the 19th, if I happen to get to you on the 22nd or whatever, like, it is what it is. But we'll get through them that whole week. I'm sure by Friday, all of the teams will be done. So just sort of keep that in mind as that comes up. The last date to add players for week 1 is 4/28. So what that means is that's the Wednesday before the first week of the season. And that is the process throughout the entire year. So every week after your games end on Sunday, the league will reopen rosters for ads. And you'll be free to add players up until Wednesday. And then on Wednesday at midnight, once again, the teams will lock. So if you have a new guy and you want him to play in the coming week, make sure he's added between Monday and Wednesday, and all of your information is appropriate on there. Same thing with using your IRs. Make sure you get them to me between Monday and Wednesday, so we can move a guy off and put a guy on there. So make sure, like, you keep that in mind as the season goes. It'll be Monday through Wednesday each week for add players. If a player is approved, if we have approved a player on your roster, all right, for no reason can you drop them. There is no dropping of any players. There's a note on the site that tells me when players get dropped. So don't try and do it, because we'll know. So just please, if you are unsure about a guy, if he hasn't paid you, any of the litany of excuses that you might have, do not add them to your roster until you feel like they are going to play for you on Sundays. All right. I can't tell you how many times we start approving players and I get an email like 3 days later and I left them on there, whatever. If you're unsure, don't add them until you are sure. Again, we got rid of the bad, I don't know, the blacklist or whatever you want to call it.
Bad boy list.
Yeah, whatever. Because we're just not tracking this
Bring
anymore.
it
If you add a guy to your
back.
roster, you know that they're eligible to play, and that's you signaling to the league that whatever agreement you have between the player and yourself, that they're good to go. So that's really all I have to say on it. Don't ever drop a player. Even if it's an IR, we'll do it for you, and then you'll have that spot to use. So if you ever are sitting there and are about to drop a player who's approved on your roster, just stop, because that's not what you're supposed to do. Can't be any clearer than that. Any questions on the roster approval stuff?
I have a new team and I have some players that were on teams in prior seasons. Do I have to do anything to transfer them? I added them to my roster, but I'm not sure if I have any other steps.
Nope. As long as they're not double rostered on another BDSL team, you're free to add them. In the off season, we consider all players "quote unquote" free agents. So.
Okay. So will I know if they're accidentally on another roster? I mean, I don't think they are.
If if I approve your team and there's guys unapproved, and you have the address, the picture, the, all the proper information on them, then you email me, say, hey, Mike, what's up? Why isn't this guy approved? I'll tell you why, whether he was either suspended or he's double rostered. In a case of a double roster, we ask for the player to tell us whose team they are on. So usually
Okay.
if that crops up, I'll include both emails or both managers in an email thread and say, look, if you two can't come to an agreement on who this guy's really playing for, we need to hear from the player directly. So just sort of keep that in mind as you're moving forward, I guess. Does that answer it for you, Chuck?
Okay, thanks.
Yep, no problem.
Yeah, good.
Hey, Mike.
Anyone? Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, if we added a player early before you've approved everything, and then he changed his mind and I already took him off,
You're
are we
fine.
stuck with that, or we're
You're good.
because you haven't gone through the approvals?
Correct. If they are still in red, you are free to take them off. Okay. The only time that is not going to be allowed is during the season. If a player gets suspended for yellow card or a red card, we take them off the roster, because you'll see why in a minute. But each week you're going to print out a game card, and this way the player isn't listed on the game card, and there's no way he can be checked into play. So the only time you'll see a player in red that isn't approved by the league is during the season when they have a card. And that's the only time, you can't take off a guy who is not approved by the league. But
Great, thank you.
yeah, but from now until we start approving on the 19th, like I have 19 guys up there. I had to drop a guy off yesterday because they bailed. So totally understandable up until then. Any other questions? No. All right, 2 more things here, guys, and then we'll wrap up. BDSL game day prep. So this is basically just a quick refresher for what everyone should have ready for them come their first week of the game. Everyone needs to have their player passes printed out in color, laminated, and ready to hand to the refs. They fold in half, right? And on the back side, it says to be signed by I don't know, someone, the register or something like that. They don't need to be signed. I've had that question a couple times in the past. So you print them out in color, you fold the pass up, you take it to FedEx, Kinko's, or wherever your UPS store, get them laminated, and have them ready. The refs will collect, or they should at least collect the player passes before the game. You'll also pay them directly in cash on the field. The $81 is the ref fee this year. So make sure you have it. Don't ask for change. Don't ask for anything like that. Just make sure you have the $81 before the season. So pre-game, the ref's going to come over. You're going to hand them the player passes, the $81, and then rosters. So on your team page, when you're logged in, there's a section that says game cards. If you click on that, you'll be able to print out the game that you have that coming week. It'll have both yours and your opposing team's roster, and all of the numbers and everything like that on there, and the refs can use that to check in everyone from that. You should have at least 2 copies printed. One goes to the officials and one goes to the opposing team. I usually print out 3. I keep one for myself to make sure it matches what the opposing team gives me. And that's what you kind of need on game day prep. Again, as a reminder, Teal Cup or Wood Cup games, you don't need to pay the officials, but you will need to bring your player passes. For the game cards, there is no separate section for game cards for cup games. What you can do is you can print out any roster from a previous game card that you want. Just make sure it's at a time when, if you had any roster changes, it's your most up-to-date one. So please have all that ready to go. I saw some questions in chat. Hold on here for this. Are we supposed to bring the extra $1 in coin? No, Chris, come on. Is there a rule? Is there still a rule that if a manager forgot to get his passes to a game? No, driver's license is not sufficient to check in. You have until halftime to get them. So if you're missing one, it can be allowed. But no, there's no other method for checking in aside from your player passes.
Also, to touch on the ref fee thing, don't expect your refs to have changed because a lot of them don't bring their wallets to the field. So if you're bringing them like $100 bill and expect $19 back,
That's
I just
absolutely
would
right.
I just would split it out in envelopes before the season, just save everybody time because
Yep,
it'll be
that's what I
annoying.
do. I have an envelope for every game with cash in it before the season, and then I just pull the envelope and bring it to my game, stuff my passes in there, my printed game card.
I like to stop at the ATM on the way to the game, so they don't
Mhm.
give $1 out of the ATM. That sucks.
No, they don't. No. The center console isn't going to help you for too much there either, Chris.
Well, it will if you have $1 coin. It's $1, right?
I guess that's true.
And it would be easier for them to break it down that way too.
Well, both the dollars go to the center official, so you don't have to worry about that. All right, so that should cover the prep. Is there any other questions in regards to that here? Rankus, I'm ignoring you. All right, so the very last part here, again, I talked about him earlier, but Mitch has kind of been filling in as the role of BDSL treasurer after being nominated. Last month he was nominated, so this month we can officially vote on it. So he's running unopposed unless someone wants to make a late throw for the position. I do not recommend it, but Mitch has done a fantastic job so far. So just all those in favor of voting for Mitch, just throw it in chat, a yes or
Fuck
something.
that! I ain't throwing shit in chat. I want Mitch.
All right, perfect. That works too.
Everyone unmute.
My boy,
Let's
Colin.
chant. Give us Mitch.
There we go.
Give us Mitch.
My boy.
What team is Mitch on again?
Mitch makes it a perfect right spread across the divisions. Yeah.
Okay, he's done.
We have Premier, Championship, D1, D2, D3, all covered now. Even over 35 because Ferris does double duty there. So I think that's it with Mitch in. Thank you very much for volunteering, Mitch. Anything you want to add as the newly elected board member?
Thanks, guys. That's it. Yeah.
That's
Thanks,
it.
Colin. Appreciate it.
Go. So tomorrow expect an email with the dates for the cup as we finalize that. You're going to get a link to the BDSL COVID policies. You're going to get the link to the safe sports stuff. I will check on the part that Chuck brought up there because if that saves people from having to do a double, that would obviously be much preferred. But just remember everything we talked about in terms of prep before game, and the roster stuff and everything else like that. But we're on a really good track to start here. Thank God we were able to get every single field date that we requested pretty much. After we sent the schedule out, not a single field got back to me and said we can't take one of these dates. So we continue to proceed at a good, reasonable clip here. So I'm looking very much forward to getting this off and going. There's going to be a lot coming from me in prep to the season. I got the podcast coming back for everyone. I'll have some preview articles out too. But I don't know. I'm pretty excited as we get closer here. Thank you for everyone for dealing with the issues with me on the number thing there. Thanks for helping me out and getting that sorted. But if there's no further questions,
when there's not enough to...
Uh-oh. Someone cut in and out on me there.
That was me, Mike. Sorry.
Oh.
That was Ankus being loud.
Oh, okay. Ankur, what do you have for me? Anything?
Oh no, I got nothing. I'm just talking to Andy about number of referees on the year. So it'll be fun.
Perfect. All right, guys. If there's nothing else, I'll motion to adjourn here.
Motion.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right,
do
everyone
it.
can head out. Over 35, if you want to stick around to talk about your schedule that we released today with any other questions on that, you're more than